Hello everyone, this is Christian Mod Exxon Interactive, and by the time that we are done with this video, we should finally have our Express server and Webpack hot module replacement working the way we want it to. In particular, we'll have an entry object which contains the endpoints or several different endpoints, and we'll be able to serve those pages up. So for instance, we have this home, charting, and forums. In each of them, we'll be able to adjust the CSS, the colors, and all that. CSS, change automatically. We will change that to something more readable. We'll make it light blue. We'll be able to go to different modules, be able to change the information. So the main module will be able to change. We'll just make them ones. Independently, we'll have charting. Can change on its own too. Of course, we're just appending, so it's flopping back and forth. But we'll have forums. Well, we weren't on the forums, but now it's changed. We're on the forums. Delete those. No exclamation points. And we'll see that in the browser, it is in fact giving us different scripts or different bundles. We have common, main, forums, we have forums, and charting, and nothing special on the index page. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is to install another package, which you see I've already done it here, but just so you can see what we're installing here. So we'll clear it. And so I want to install Pug into the project. So npm install --save -dev pug. Hit enter. Like I said, it's already been done, so let's come back in here. What we next need to do is to modify the server.dev.js file. So as you can remember from the previous video, previous video, we are serving up a static HTML page. So that's the express.static, and then just passing in the dir name here, and then rendering out the index. What we want to do is be a little more sophisticated about this, I guess. And instead of rendering static HTML, we're going to use Pug. So what we'll do is we'll also set up a views folder. So we're going to set the views path here, and then that's just the directory name concatenated with the views. The view engine is going to be Pug, like I said. And let's see here. Next, we need to modify the routes a bit. So as you can remember here, we had a single route, the root, and that's serving up the index file. So let's replace that with, so we still have the root, which is still going to serve up an index file. Of course, going to be within the views folder now. And we have a couple others. Doesn't matter what the routes are. I'm just borrowing this from another project for example. And since we're using Pug now, we can send in some information to our view. And in this case, we're sending in an object which contains a property which is set to the environment. So basically production, or it's a string, it's either production or development. And that'll take care of it for the server. Alright, so as I mentioned here, we're going to create a new folder here. Call it views. Views already exists. Why you already exist? Because I created it earlier and rolled back the changes. So we have a views folder, and inside that views folder is going to be a shared folder as well. So we're going to start with inside the shared folder here. We're going to create a new page here. I'm going to call it mixins.pug. So this folder here, or this file here, is going to contain a couple of things. So on the pages, a lot of things are going to be the same. We'll have some routing at the top just so we can move back and forth. And we also are going to have to include different scripts. If you remember previously, if we look at the index.html, we have a JavaScript bundle and a common bundle scripts, right? And for this setup, we're going to have those. Plus, if we're on different pages, we'll include a different set of scripts. For instance, if we're in the charting, we'll have a charting bundle. If we're in the forms endpoint, we'll have a forms bundle. So this mix in here for scripts is going to help us do that, right? We're going to include a common bundle. I'm going to rename the bundle. We just have bundle.js. It's going to be renamed to main.bundle.js. So root of our problem from the previous video. And then I'm going to include whatever, if there's a script, passed in, we're going to include that as well. So we'll save that. Close both of those. And I'm going to borrow a idea from ASP.NET, and we're going to have what I call layout.pug. So we'll see here, like I said, most of the pages, basically all the pages are pretty much the same. What we want to do in this one is import the mixins. Shouldn't have closed it. We'll import the mixins that has the navigation mixin. So we'll invoke the navigation mixin right down here. We're going to include, if the environment is production, we'll include the tag for the CSS bundle. If it's not, then the changes for CSS will be served in memory. We won't have a file for them. Let's go ahead and save that. So that takes care of the layout and the mixins. So now we need to create the other views. So we'll say new file. We'll make an index.pug. So in that one, we just include the mixins, the mixins file and the layout. So by including the layout right here, what will happen is this part will all get rendered. I don't know why you're not selecting, but everything here will just get rendered on the page. And then inside that, then we'll have the scripts tags. So that takes care of index. Need to create another one. And that's charting.pug. And charting is the same thing, except this time we'll pass in a string to our scripts mixin. So then that will have, again, the charting.bundle.js. And we need one more. And forms.pug. Same deal. So we get the forms bundle. Okay. So now we're done with the views. All right, now let's move back to the culprit for the problems that we had in the previous video here. Or let's fix something here. So right now we just have the main entry point here, and what we want is to have the other endpoints that we talked about, the charting and the forms. So let's just replace this with this. So here the entry is, we'll create a charting bundle again, a forms bundle, and main bundles, both JavaScript and CSS. On the forms and charting, we'll just create a JavaScript bundle from these files here that we have to create. So we'll save those. And I think now we'll talk about the culprit for all of our problems last time. So if we go back to the server.dev.js file. So a little background. Like I said, I think in the previous video here I mentioned that I don't really do any Node web application development. So looking through videos or articles and figuring out how to do this, because people are asking how to set up hot module replacement. So all of the examples that I come to, of course, are single page applications. Everyone just does a single page application. And so the problem that we're running into is the decision to do this right here. And that is to take out the output object that we had in the webpack.config file and basically replace it with another output object, which in itself is not a terrible thing. The problem is that I said that the file name, the output, should be just bundle.js. If we look at the webpack.config file, we have an output object. That output object says the file name should be this square brackets name.bundle.js, where Webpack will just insert whatever the name of the entry point was into this and create a new bundle out of it. So when we just say bundle.js, what we're going to do is take everything that's in the entry. So we have multiple entry points, and we're trying to stuff them all into a bundle with the same name, and of course Webpack complains about this. So our problem was doing this thing right here. So we're going to fix this, and I did that out of order on my notes, but we'll do it here. So we're going to change this to be, we're going to keep the output object that was already defined in webpack.config. We're not going to change it. We're going to change is what we need to change. We'll change the path and the public path. So the path being root, public path being the same thing that we set up last time. If we look back here, I was going to mention this as well while I was thinking about it, is that on the original one, I set this output public path to /js/, and I remember doing this. This is because in order to get hot module replacement working for an ASP.NET Core package using the package that the team provides for it, this is the appropriate public path. So this is just in that particular case. So we need to set our public path to the server that we're dealing with, and then keeping the same configuration for the files. All right, so that's fixed. So now we return to our entry point. So as you remember in the previous video, what we're doing is basically just squishing the entry point object down to an array of strings, which this is not what we want anymore. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of this. So let's do a couple of things here. We still need to include these Webpack, the dev server, and the hot middleware client. And what we need to do is to include both of these strings within each bundle. So not just one bundle, so each bundle. So we're going to define a function here to help us do this here in a second. So add server and client to string. So what I'm going to expect the entry point object is going to contain is, first of all, it's an object with string keys, so that'll be the name of the bundle. The value of those properties are going to either be a string or an array of strings. So if the property, the value is a string, we're going to wrap that string in an array and add in the server and client. And I said it's either a string or an array. So if it's an array, we are going to just add those two files to the end of the array. All right, so let's start configuring things here. All right, so let's say, so if the entry point to our configuration object is a string itself, so it's a single page application, just has a string, just need to wrap again that string in an array, add our 2 files, references anyway. All right, so if that entry point is an array, do the same, wrapping it up. And of course, the last bit in our particular case is going to be an object. So we do the usual, and we forget a brace. So we go through the config object, we look and see what properties it has. If it's its own property, we come down here. If that own property is a string, wrap it into an array. If it's an array, do this. If it's not, give an error message saying we only support strings or an array of strings. All right, so we're good to go there. Now, let's go ahead and close these. We're going to go back to our source folder. We're going to adjust the main here. This font size adjustment is a little crazy. I think so. Let's just copy it in here. I don't know where this padding thing came from, but we'll make the background color yellow, padding of 10 for a body. All right, going to main.site.ts. So we're going to have multiple entry points now. So I want to see that everything is working correctly. We're just going to replace all of this. Same deal. If module.hot is defined, we'll accept it. Same deal happening here. The class is just, we're looking for the old app, removing it, In this case, though, we're going to name things differently. I've just had the same, app class name. So we're going to give the main file a main app class name. Sort of make it look like something here. We'll export a class, main module. I guess we don't need to export it, but so we'll have the class, main module, then we'll just new it up, and it will append the elements, and then, as we change things, adjust this, mainly the string here, then it'll change the, it'll remove, and we'll see the change in the, once the hot module replacement runs. All right, so we do need the other modules, right? And have my folders here. So inside source, we're going to create a charting folder and a forms folder. So let's go up to charting, add a new file. Of course, we called it charting.module.ts. Same deal, same replacement. We could, if I was going to use this, we'd do some modifications, so we'd have some, we could import some stuff and do this in one time. We have to keep rewriting these things, but in this case we'll just call it charting app, and we'll have a little string in there for it to new it up. Save that. Same deal in forms, so we have forms.module.ts. Forms app, same, forms module. Great. We're going to leave those open actually because we're going to change some stuff. All right, moment of truth now. Go back to our console npm run express dev, I think is what I called it. So close yet so far. Made a mistake, silly little mistake in my notes there. So it's complaining in the server.dev file. How did this? Just want to make sure it's actually not there in the file. And it's not. Okay, fine. So path equals require path. All right. Oops, try this again. It's listening. Oh, look at this, making errors all over the place. So I did not define the environment. So once again, failure on the notes. We'll just go into the webpack.config file. So I know it's in there. Let's take our environment from there, server.dev. Save that. Compiled correctly. You pain. Listening. All right, let's just close that one. All right, everything is up and running again. Let's take this, close server.dev, and how about we change our CSS first? Let's make this something light coral. An ugly little color, but at least that's working. So the CSS is working. We'll go to the main app. Let's throw on our usual couple of exclamation points. Oops, should probably make that bigger. So we have our exclamation points. They go away. That works. Let's go to charting. So we have both of them here. One thing that I had to work on or figure out was, at one point I was working on it completely one day, trying to get everything to work before I figured out that I just needed to change the name on the output. It took 12 hours working on this thing. Half of the time was getting it so that I could tell the the dev middleware what name to serve up the bundle with, and then the other part was to figure out how to get it to input the right things here. And the reason I bring that up was one of the problems I had was, it was updating the main anytime I did anything. So of course, at least the main is updated here. And if I change the charting module here, let's do that. Of course, we're appending here, just going to flip the order here. But now if we go to the forms, we see that the main has been is updated from the previous one, and we just have the forms module. And forms, put our exclamation points on there, it works. And in forms we can adjust that, main changes, charting has it, home has it, so everything is now working correctly. And I think that then that should be able to work. So if you're using, if you're setting this up yourself, this should be the setup that you can use, in particular having the Webpack Dev middleware and Webpack Hot middleware. As long as we configure our entry point correctly, this should all work. So, thank you again for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.